Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me, and apologies for the operational logistical problem earlier. I was able to get it solved, so I'm grateful to be here with all of you and be able to participate in this important endeavor. The Leonum Institute for AI and Emerging Technologies at the Catholic University of America was set up for kind of three different reasons, and I thought I'd kind of outline those reasons and then describe some of the project that we're working on collaboratively with Peter Pazmani University there in Budapest. The Leonum Institute was started about in September of last year, around three different major goals from the Catholic University perspective. The first was to really approach AI from a deep pedagogical sort of perspective. The AI as a technology really differs from a lot of other emerging technologies that we've encountered so far as a as a culture, as humans, because it resembles our own intellectual patterns most closely out of anything that we've ever invented. The perspective that Catholic University and the Leonum Institute take on this, though, of course, is that large language models are very adept at reorganizing and repatterning insights that we as humans have already come to, rather than the AI being something that comes to any insights itself, which is it does not. This statistical reassembling of human insight, this statistical reassembling of human information and things that we've been able to discover through our own research and natural language, gives the resemblance of something that does thinking, when indeed it, of course, as we all know in this room, it's kind of a statistical, very powerful, to be completely fair, a very powerful statistical reassembling of already intelligible human information. As a result, though, we have to take care from a pedagogical standpoint to not only kind of understand this technology at a deeper level, but also to present it to our undergraduates, our graduates, and our faculty within our university, so that it can be used as the tool that it is in the best ways possible, and not as a kind of replacement for human thinking or a replacement for human endeavor or human connection. So that's kind of the first pillar of the Leonum Institute. The second pillar kind of touches on the research and innovation perspective that this conference is bringing to the fore in so many rich ways. We see AI as a technology as opening new doors for innovators and for builders because of the way in which it can be used as a fantastic companion to human thought. I think we've all seen a number of different research papers coming out of some of the deep research functions across the globe as to new discoveries, new ways of doing scientific research, and new ways of moving forward in particular fields as a result of being able to work with this technology closely. The other aspect of AI as a technology too is that it's kind of lowered the barrier to entry for builders. Rather than necessarily needing to know how to code oneself, non-technical founders can get rather far with natural language rather than having to learn a programming language in order to build certain kinds of things. Those two things come together has helped us kind of think at the Leonum Institute of reshaping the university business model, and not just Catholic U, but experiments in reshaping the university business model writ large, both in the United States and across the globe, in terms of how could we see this innovative function, this way of driving innovation forward, returning value to the university, even a relatively small one like the Catholic University of America, by participating in the innovation that our students and faculty are able to bring to the fore. As part of this, we're kind of reimagining the technology transfer function within the university, and we're also reimagining the ways in which we can drive research forward with regard to this technology. And of course, similar to Peter Prasmani as well, we have a deep pride and respect for our Catholic heritage, having been founded by Pope Leo XIII, and of course being able to resonate with Pope Leo XIV's choice of name with regard to the seismic shifts that this technology is bringing to the world. And as part of that, the Leonum Institute is dedicated to bringing a better and deeper understanding of this technology to the Catholic Church to help them in their philosophy, theology, and kind of moral guidance with regard to the impact of this technology on human actors. So, given those kind of three pillars at the Leonum Institute, we were very excited when Peter Prasmani University reached out to us to suggest a collaboration between our two universities. Not only because of the deep respect we have for the institution that Peter Prasmani has established, but also because of the way in which Peter Prasmani represents the interests of the nation of Hungary. Now, our collaboration has been kind of happening over the last couple of months, and we're examining a couple of key areas that were very that some of these speakers have already touched on in this conference. The first is this kind of explainability sort of issue. When we're working with large language models or even multimodal models, because of their kind of openness with regard to outcomes, because they're kind of a statistical probability machine, it's hard to rely on them in the same way that we can a human actor, because a human actor, of course, can generally explain, even if they don't have good reasons, at least they generally have reasons for their actions. And it's kind of been a core computer development paradigm and axiom in the computer development space that you can't assign agency or responsibility to an algorithm or to a machine, because they can't take that sort of responsibility. You must have a human actor to assign that kind of responsibility to whenever you're creating a sort of computer program. And so, as we kind of use these artificial intelligence systems more broadly and more widely for all kinds of different decisions within the business world, within places that impact human lives, how can we really wrap our heads, get a sense of how these decisions are being made, not just from a statistical randomness sort of perspective, but from a deeper understanding of the underlying technology itself. Now, this sort of alignment, this sort of explainability is a non-trivial task because of the nature of this technology and the amount of data and information that is required for the training of models. But that's one research task that we're taking on as part of this project between our two universities. The second thing that we're taking as kind of a research question is given the fact that Peter Prasmani is kind of representative or can provide information to its own nation and government as to how a nation should respond to this technology, it raises a bunch of very interesting questions in terms of how a nation like Hungary should respond to technologies pushed by large multinational corporations that has such a great impact on the lives of their citizens and the lives of and their country's culture. There's a bunch of kind of perspectives from big tech in the United States with regard to how sovereign nations should be able to, scope out their own data, should be able to shape the technology on the basis of the recommendations of their citizens. But what all does that entail? And so part of the project too that we're working on in our collaboration is to tease out all of the different ways in which this technology does impact us as humans and as citizens of particular nations who are doing our best, of course, to maintain a particular culture within our nation. And so, what are all the aspects that we should be concerned about, cognizant of, with the adoption of this technology admittedly a very sort of West Coast United States perspective when it comes to where all of primarily all of these big tech companies are located, and how they intentionally or unintentionally are shipping their own kinds of worldviews globally as a result of the way in which they're training and developing these tools. And so, understanding that, you can see how they're kind of intertwined. Of course, the explainability issue with regard to LLMs and multimodal models as well, um, along with the impact on culture and citizens of different nations, and being able to ensure that as a nation, as a culture, even down to more granular units of society, like a family or a company or a city or a county or a subdivision of a nation. How can we ensure that a culture is being preserved rather than accidentally falling into a monoculture that can be driven by these large tech initiatives? We see that even in historically in the last few decades with regard to the impacts of globalization on specific dialects or languages across the globe too. And so, how can we be sure to keep a nation's culture and heritage intact while still utilizing these tools in the way in which they can be helpful or promote human flourishing as well? And so that ends up being another major research question for our collaborative project together. Um, and interestingly and excitingly, I think it does involve all aspects and all departments and all colleges and schools within the university. Because of course, as we all know here at this conference, and definitely Peter Pasmani and Catholic University of America deeply understand too, the university developed out of our own kind of God-given unrestricted desire to know. And all of the different aspects of the university come from us trying to understand the natural world, us trying to understand ourselves, our cultures, our societies, our political systems. And as a result, in order to have a full response to something that does shape our intelligence in this fashion, we need a full response from every aspect of the university, because each aspect of the university was developed in order to answer precisely these kinds of questions. And so those are kind of the main thrusts of our collaborative project together. I look forward to continuing to drive those forward in collaboration with Peter Pasmani. And I also look forward to kind of reporting back out to this group where this research takes us and things that we discover along the way. Of course, if you have further questions or thoughts, do feel free to reach out. To me or to the Leonum Institute directly. And I'm excited for the direction this conference is taking and look forward to continuing to learn from you all over the course of the day.